Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Non-Essential Workers Podcast. You know what we do by this point. I'm Alex.
I'm Aiden.
I'm Jason.
And this is my week after a brief hiatus to take care of technical shit and get seriously ill, to share with you some of the dumbest shit I've seen in a long time.
So we can all be ill together.
We'll start with our wild and out section.
Okay.
The Times has several in this episode, it looks like, but to start with, our favorite paper has published something I feel like I need my Irish correspondent to explain to me.
Top of the morning.
Using science and Celtic wisdom to save trees, parentheses, and souls. Diana Beresford Kroger, a botanist and author, has created a forest with tree species handpicked for their ability to withstand a warming planet.
I feel like this related to that other story we did where the person was like, "I'm a geologist and I love God" or something.
Yeah, they're mowing lawns for God.
What is this farm wisdom bullshit? Celtic wisdom?
By the way, she's not Christian. That should be made clear.
No, I know. I'm just.
She's pagan.
Wait, what?
She's an Irish pagan.
Yeah, that's the feel I got from this headline.
She's a Harry Potter character?
Yes, but without the humor.
Or she's planting mandrake roots that can survive like nuclear annihilation?
So there's there's a few thousand pagans left, still practicing the traditions from the authentic tradition. Then there's like a million people who are trying to rip them off for hot topic reasons. But like, she seems legit. She's like 80, in the sense that this was actually something she believed in.
But my question is, why should we care about an old lady making a hand-picked forest that's just going to get flooded and die? And two, like, what is this? Is this like they can't handle real news? Like, let's cover some random bullshit that we would never cover normally so we can feel good about ourselves. What is this? This might be the least relevant story I
know she seems to be drawing on quote unquote generational wisdom, but Ireland, yes, used to be covered in almost all forest, but it's at this point for decades it's been extremely deforested. There's not that much forest left in Ireland. So for this to be the place of divine epiphany to occur is interesting to me. But then again, Celts get it done, I suppose.
By the way, I think she's actually Canadian. She's just of Irish descent.
She's doing Celt face.
Fantastic. Yeah. She is Celt. Like, she is Irish descended, but I think she's living in it.
It's one neat pagan trick to save the forest.
Yeah. Invented by a grandma.
It's a fucking BuzzFeed article. Do better, New York Times or whatever.
Yeah. I don't. Why was this published? I guess just to distract.
You're a dog who's like, everything's fine, his house on fire.
Yeah.
That's the New York Times right now.
They just have to do interest pieces, character interest pieces.
What's weird to me is that they're like science and Celtic wisdom. It's like, you just pick one.
You need the power of both God and anime.
Either she's doing it the right way or she's doing it a fictitious way. What does it mean to say she's doing both? She's doing the right thing, then praying? Like, what are they saying?
She's doing normal math and Terrence Howard math and getting the right answers.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, that doesn't mean anything. Because again, I got no intentional hostility towards traditional ways of doing things, but all the traditional ways of doing things that prove to be correct are now regular ways of doing things.
But see, you can sell it because she's doing the science of saving the trees and doing the bullshit of saving the trees' souls. And so when you add 1 + 0, you still get 1. So you're still getting the right answer of like doing good science, but people can feel better about all this bullshit.
I mean, I didn't read this one. I only read like a paragraph or two, but it seemed like she was doing some sort of Wiccan, like, plant shrubbery selecting rituals to determine the future of green energy. And I was like,
so she's
that can't be doing any, like, that can't be a real thing in any scientific field.
A whole big nothing burger.
Yeah, I mean, she's done a ton of work in a green respect that seems to be legitimate, but it seems like half of it's that and half of it's just gibberish, and I don't understand why the gibberish part is being given the time of day.
Because the scientific community is so flabbergasted at how unseriously they've been taken Like, I guess we'll try magic. Maybe they'll take our magic serious.
Yeah. This is the first sorceress of the green energy movement.
God, I'm so upset.
You know, maybe she does have the truth. Maybe the Irish shamans were
Yeah.
driven into hiding by British imperialism, and they're finally creeping back out. They're descendant witches.
Well, they're depicting her as like Getafix from Asterix, like she's this Celtic druid who's like cutting mistletoe in the wood and is gonna save global warming. It's like even the Romans killed them. Like, what the fuck are they gonna do against like Sitgo? It's just like come on. This is they lost to people with sandals who were 5 feet tall.
Short Kings.
Anyway, yeah, this is the revenge of the Short Kings from the last week.
Oh my god, this is a whole expose.
Yeah, it is. It's enormously long. It's one of the reasons I was like, I'm not reading this.
Yeah, they're out of their minds. This is wild. Let's see what other depths they can dig.
There was some insane shit. There's a quote that's like, everyone used to not believe me because I was insane, and now they're coming around. I'm like, are they?
Well,
I think they're just humoring her.
One reporter, I guess. I mean, I always wonder, like, when you hear about things like this, people like this that are, you would think, engaged in really obscure stuff. Somehow she had the connections to get in contact with the New York Times.
Or trust me, it's not that hard.
Oh, yeah. But
I mean, I've tried to get op-eds published there back when I was even slightly less cynical, and it did not happen. So
no, she's not trying to get an op-ed published. She's just an insane person that they found.
But like,
which is an interest piece.
It's weird because she's halfway between like a cat lady and like a genuine ecologist. So she's in that perfect like intersection where they can do a human interest story that gets attention without saying like you picked up a homeless person to do it. Like, you know, like they found someone who's bizarre and also technically credentialed, which I think.
Well, you didn't know that 95% of homeless people have degrees in botany. So
yeah, I mean,
joke's on you.
You're not getting careers with it usually. So sadly.
Sorry, guys.
Made up stat, by the way.
I have to step away for a moment. My dad locked himself out of the house.
What? All right, sure.
I'll be back in just
nice.
This is staying in.
Stay in it. I'm not going anywhere.
The article had the tone of like again, I only read the beginning, but it had the tone of like, what have atheists done? Like, once again, it was like we dismissed this beautiful woman and her Celtic wisdom. And it's like, did we? Didn't like everyone?
No, no one dismissed her. She's not a person who made a public appeal.
Well, it's like she was trying to get published for a long time. She didn't get published till she was like in her 50s. It's like, yeah, because she's publishing this in Scientifically Valid. It's not about like religion. The fact that it's her religion is a separate issue.
Right. This is what's so bothersome to me. People think that if their science is bad, it's the scientific community's fault. Nah, bitch. If it wasn't reproducible and verifiable, it ain't science.
Right. Like, whether or not that's your religion is a secondary question. The main issue that only like in the academy or in sciences anyone gives a shit about is, can you prove it's true?
It's not a mystery that all those scientific wackos out there who think they're doing science, who can't get published, make their own fake journals and just get published there.
Now, someone who thinks
opportunities for people to do that.
Someone who thinks God is telling them to plant like 50 pine trees a day, it's like, all right, I mean, if that's what it took you to do it, more power to you. But like, you're not going to convince people in a scientific community that that's a real thing. Just that you did good for a weird reason.
It's that there's some kind of secret combination of plants that'll reduce global warming.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Well, I mean, that may even be true, but she has to prove it. She can't just assert it.
No, it's not true. But the nature.
I don't mean like, you know, the Wiccan combo. I just mean like certain plants might be more efficient than others. You know.
Yeah, it's called nature. It's called evolution. Evolution figures out what's going to survive and not.
I mean, the reality though is also that like the ocean accounts for the vast majority of photosynthesis. Like, there's a lot of stuff that we don't think about when it comes to ecology. That is,
we're fucking up the ocean worse than we're fucking up farms.
Yeah, like stopping the pollution of the ocean is actually probably the single most important part of maintaining like our oxygen levels. And
you know, side note, I found a really interesting. Europe just does everything better than America. So I was watching this,
including fascism.
Well, sure, but I'm talking. Well, I'm kind of talking. So let me explain. I'm getting sidetracked. So, there's like this European gun, like, you know, the gun, like events that go on in America. They have like a big event, and like a whole bunch of companies come. They show off all their new evil products. So there's one in Europe, but because it's like in Europe, and basically it's run by all these like Czech and Italian engineers who are much more interesting. So like they do their evil funnier and more interesting than us. So there's this company called like bio ammo, and they're like, guess what? It's a big contributor to the climate problems. Is all the plastic we shoot out of our shotguns.
Oh my god.
It's not biodegradable. So this company has made biodegradable ammunition. It's really smart, actually.
Was their tagline like "kill without any moral hesitation"?
No, people generally do not wage war with shotguns. Shotguns are almost all exclusively used for target shooting or hunting.
I didn't say kill humans.
Look, people are gonna hunt. That's not changing. We can probably minimize waging of war, but you're not gonna have to stop people from hunting. The point is, they're like environmentalists plus gun nuts, and it's an amazing combo. So they've got these shotgun shells that are made of like vegetables that they've like smashed into pseudo plastic that degrades very easily.
This is the Dutch MacGyver,
and the microbes can eat it. And even the bullets themselves are made of like some different metals and some alloys that can break down and aren't that hard. Like, it's really interesting. So people can shoot their shotgun at the coming tornado and comet like in good conscience.
But is it like a Whole Foods situation where they're going to like massively overcharge for this tech?
No. In fact, the gun market's insanely competitive with ammo prices because of basically ironically, the ammo market got hit by all this inflation stuff before almost every other market because of just horrible, customer and business behavior. But no, it's relatively similar to normal ammo prices, which are all astronomical. But it's just really funny watching this European spokesman be like, it's important, shotgun ammo being degradable. And the guy was like, yeah, I totally agree. This is amazing.
Sponsored by the Dutch Council on Vegetable Handguns.
Exactly. This was funded by some government grant.
Yeah.
And what's the crossover there though? I guess like if they pitched it as like
they want a world that they can keep shooting in. We can't shoot our guns if there isn't a planet to exist on.
That's a good slow. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, they figured it out. Well,
although I guess you could just be in space shooting and send yourself flying backwards.
Even better.
I'm gonna skip to my only other wild and out one that I think is worth sharing because it's kind of old at this point, but it's so fucking weird. From NBC News, Las Vegas bartender robbed at gunpoint was forced to repay boss's stolen money, lawsuit says. And I read it and it's true. He had to pay back $4,000 and then when he was done, they fired him.
Was he proven to be an accomplice?
Nope, he had nothing to do with the crime whatsoever.
What?
Apparently he had the boss had slipped something into his contract without him realizing it, which was something like, if you get robbed, you owe me the money.
That's illegal. You can't do that.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but this, you're acting like this already happened. No, they're just suing him and they're gonna lose. Like this lawsuit can't win. It's
no, he's already paid the money. He's trying to sue to get it back.
Why would he pay them? This guy out of his mind?
He took it out of his wages.
Oh, it's been stolen from him.
He was wage thefted.
Oh, so he's
and the boss's argument is that I made him sign a contract that said I could do that.
Yeah, this guy's an idiot. This boss is an idiot.
So I don't know if it's been resolved yet, but he has to win the lawsuit just to get his money back.
Right. Well, no, he should win, and he should win tremendous amounts of damages. So
he should. I don't think he will because it's America, but he should.
Absolutely not. The boss can't do that for that kind of financial crime. I don't know.
He's done it already. We'll see if he gets there.
Faith low. No, yeah, he did it in a way he already had control of, which is wage garnishment.
But I just want you to imagine that you're one of the people who works at one of these, relatively small businesses, and almost every other case, the person will be like, "Hey, your life's not worth it. Just like pay, hand over the register. The insurance will cover it. And they'll catch the guy later or whatever." And it's like, no, shoot me because I can't afford to pay this back. Like the incentives for this are to basically die for your manager.
But this is a great new line you can use. You're like, you're a cash register guy, and the guy comes with a gun. You're like, guys, man, my credit won't be able to handle this. Like, please go rob another store where they don't have, gouging horrible policies.
But it's like standard procedure. Even like the police understand that it's like standard procedure that if someone's trying to rob you and you're a cashier, you're a cashier.
Yeah, just give the money.
You just give them the money because otherwise you get killed.
But the money's supposed to be insured. Like the whole reason you have a business license and operate a business is that you're protected from shit like this.
I can't wait till the lawsuit reveals that it was insured and the guy's double dipping.
Oh my god, fuck this dude. Fuck CEOs.
Something like that, yeah.
Bosses will try and get away with anything just because they feel like a boss.
Can you imagine your wages being garnished because you got robbed? It's just like, hey, you had some trauma. Wow, here's some more.
Did people watch Andy Samberg's Like a Boss unironically? What is
Feels like
happening?
it. Yeah. Fucking wild.
Oh, God.
Insert salt into wound.
Yeah, and some lime and some whatever bullshit that he would make.
Yeah, exactly. He's making a mojito.
Margarita yourself.
Welcome to Margaritaville.
So those are the most insane ones, but we're still kind of in that ballpark. And as we transition from wild and out to change my mind meme articles,
Good one. Whatever happened to that guy?
I think he's still dying slowly.
I was
Freaking out about his gender identity or something.
I really missed the opportunity to make a Nick Cannon pun when we were talking about guns. Get him next time.
Yeah, it's there's still time. Nick Cannon.
Didn't he host Wild and Out?
Yeah, no, it's spelling. From The Guardian,
Too many references.
Clyburn, Supreme Court nomination of Ketanji Brown Jackson, beyond politics.
Nice.
We've gone beyond.
But this doesn't tell me, where is this from?
This is from The Guardian.
I don't understand. Does this mean he's like, I'm going to vote for it because this is bigger than politics? Or like, this is such an outrageous affront to what the Supreme Court's supposed to be that this has gone beyond politics?
It's the former. It's someone who literally like nominated her. And he's like, you have to let her onto the court because this is beyond politics. The Supreme Court is no longer political.
How does the Guardian have the gall to just say Clyburn without telling us who that is? Like U.S. Representative Jim Clyburn or something.
Oh, you don't all know this person by their last name?
Oh, he's not God. Ketanji Brown Jackson. That's the blackest name you could come up with.
I mean,
I like it.
It's certainly in the vicinity.
It's got Brown and Jackson and like a Africanized.
Yeah, it has both direct African references and African.
But this feels like the guy who wrote West Wing wrote that name.
But yes, they're talking about James Clyburn, who's South Carolina congressman.
Is he a Republican or Democrat?
He's a Democrat.
Democratic.
Oh, okay.
But the point isn't whether or not she's qualified. It's that in an environment in which it's a 6-3 court already stacked tremendously politically, and the Democrats need to be pointing that out constantly to help fight it, he's trying to act as though the court isn't partisan so that he can get his partisan person on.
But does this tell us anything about her actual politics?
Not at all. Not from the title.
But you don't get worldview just by your identity. Your identity is crafted by your experiences and your ideology. So this is so frustrating. The court didn't get more liberal because they put a woman on it. She's a psycho-religious zealot. It got more conservative. So just because she's black and a woman doesn't mean anything.
It means she's beyond politics.
We can go off of general metrics. Generally, she's probably voted with the Democratic Party, and she's probably educated, so she's probably a liberal. But that doesn't mean anything.
There's two possibilities, right? She has good politics or she has bad politics. If she has good politics, then you shouldn't say she's beyond politics. You should say she has good politics.
Right, but according to Clyburn, there's no politics. Nothing.
And we should be advocating that she gets on there because she's a force for good, and there's 6 people who are explicitly on there to do evil. So that shouldn't be ambiguous to argue, right? And if she has bad politics, then what he's saying is true but bad, which is to say, despite being a demographic that's been historically victimized and brutalized by the United States and other imperial colonial powers, she somehow joined them and has no problem with that, right? So if it's that, then he's wrong. I mean, he's right in the worst possible way.
What does he think the Supreme Court is for?
It's it's an American institution. It's venerable. Jurisprudence.
He just saying flat keywords.
Yeah, it just says the words that make it sound. Yeah. Checks and balances.
Judicial review.
Originalism. You just say some shit because you're mainstream Democrat trying to make sure nothing falls apart.
Ipso facto, ergo concordantly. I mean, what is this bullshit?
Because the Democrats' job is to look at a falling country. It's to look at a falling country that's degenerating in front of their eyes and being like, it's still good, and they try to staple it back together again. So even as the Supreme Court has become, a completely captured right-wing institution, they're still trying to act like it's neutral so that they can maintain their talking points. It doesn't make any sense.
I wish there was a way to physically convey how decayed and destroyed our institutions are. If you're looking at an apple and 2/3 of the apple is rotten and like fluffing off and like disgusting to the core and there's worms in it, you don't say, I'm gonna take a bite of that apple. You either throw the whole thing in the trash or you excise what little you can salvage and consume that.
It's just some bad apple.
You don't save like a gangrenous wound. You don't save a thing that's been totally rotten to the core. You throw it in the garbage and start over. You get a new thing.
The best way to fight cancer is to cover it up until it metastasizes.
That's actually kind of true if you're a big animal. Did I talk about the cancer?
We're not talking about that
in this show. In this one,
yes, you have.
I love big
for
cancer.
Humans. It is not true.
It's true,
and that's what we're dealing with. We're not saving the whales here. You know who else isn't saving the whales?
The whales.
Of the pagan botanist.
That's true. Another fucking bizarre change my mind type story from Raw Story. And this one's weird for a lot of reasons.
I think you're going to say Ross Perot.
Yeah. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Democrats must be stopped before they're able to create happiness.
Wait, what? Huh?
Everything is backwards about this.
She sounds like a fucking Chaos Space Marine leader.
Yeah.
What's happening?
I know she's incredibly dumb, but what the fuck is she trying to say?
Was this another like slip up? She meant to say like create fascism or something?
I think what she was trying to say was win over the voting public with temporary fraudulent joy, like some sort of
Hopi change
bread and circuses or something.
Even Sarah Palin said this better.
Yeah,
by presenting Obama as Hopi changey nonsense gobbledygook.
Yeah, she's the best pitch person for the Democratic Party I've seen yet.
This is like a baby trying to talk for like the second time ever.
Yeah. The Democrats couldn't hope to be this good at selling themselves as she is selling them right now. And she's still wrong, but none of the Democrats are even smart enough to say something like, we're here to create happiness for you. I don't know how she even does it. It makes me think that she's like a deep operative. Like she's trying to help them.
Let's take this seriously for a moment. Let's take these words at face value.
Okay.
It is in our Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
For every citizen to pursue happiness. And a leader of government saying, nah, our job is to create misery. What the fuck? What has happened to a person where look, I'm nihilistic in some ways, but what has happened to a person where their stated objective is to not create happiness?
Yeah, you're going to create happiness, and that's bad. You'll get credit for it.
You have to stop the happiness police.
Makes the country weak.
Right, this is some Churchill shit. Or like, we have to go through suffering to be better because God.
It's like one of those catch on children who's like, fine, I'll be happy, but not because you told me to be.
Yeah, but I won't like it.
What?
I mean, these people live in such the world in their head is so distorted that they think we're trying to be mind controlled 1984, Clockwork Orange, like convinced that we're happy. Yeah. No, we're trying to create actual happiness through like equality and access to wealth and access to money and access to power, like to do the things you want in life.
Something tells me Marjorie Taylor Greene's never listened to the old Ludwig van, though.
It's so weird. Like, this isn't even conservative ideology.
No, she's just an imbecile.
Conservatives want to be happy too.
It's just that they're happy when like black people are on the ground and like bleeding out. That's what makes them happy. So like this is a very strange framing. She's openly identifying with like evil as a concept as opposed to implicitly. It's like explicitly. Happiness is the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm dubious of this quote because that's like a cartoon character.
Are you telling me the media might have misrepresented someone?
Yes, even someone as odious as her. Like that.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, was this a Popeye villain? I don't understand.
I think Bluto wanted to be happy. He just wanted to marry Olive Oil.
He just wanted to fuck.
Yeah, he was just like an incel.
The first incel, giant Pluto. God, Olive's the worst.
Is she? Yeah, well. No one's really a winner on that show.
No, that show deserves a 21st century takedown, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I believe the quote because there's no stakes involved in believing it or not believing it, and also because she said such incredibly dumb stuff before.
Yeah, this is not even like the fifth dumbest thing she said.
Sure,
Yeah.
but what does it mean?
It's not even my favorite thing.
I mean, she at a pulpit like Pol Pot or like Mussolini, swing your hands like they want to create happiness. Oh, this is some Gorka shit.
Yeah, she actually has an advanced philosophy about how happiness is the soul death of
She have a
humanity.
dentist system of like happiness leads to.
It's pure ideology.
Right, what is
She's
happening?
a Jedi.
She's been like accidentally listening to Zizek.
Oh my god, a conversation between her and Zizek would be so incomprehensible.
I wouldn't be able to understand what either of them were saying for different reasons.
I mean, no, that conversation's already happened. Jordan Peterson had a conversation debate thing with Zizek. It was
Yeah, that sounds like it was productive.
It was not. Most rest assured, it was not.
Shocked Pikachu.
Yeah. It's almost like you can't both be trolls, even if you are other ends of political spectrum trolling. Yeah, this one was just so fucking stupid. But we're not done yet with that kind of shit. And our last basically just trolling article.
Very good.
And of course it's the Times again.
The times we live in.
I came to college eager to debate. I found self-censorship instead.
Stop it. Stop it.
So even before we start, self-censorship?
Self-censorship isn't censorship. Censorship means coerced to not share your view. If you're realizing, oh, it was the thing I'm saying is dumb, and you've decided to change your mind about your behavior, you're not being censored.
I don't even think she meant to say that. I think she meant to say, well, external censoring, like someone else was censoring her in the classroom or something.
No, she's trying to say,
like chilling effect? Like, what is she saying?
She's trying to say my views are so odious that when I tried to share them, people's disgust was so palpable that it gave me social embarrassment. So I stopped sharing my views and lied about my real worldview. And that's self-censorship. And that's somehow not my fault.
I got social anxiety because I was different. And so I stopped talking.
I get social anxiety because I'm probably a fascist. And
hold on, we'll get to
that.
We'll get to her actual politics in a moment.
It doesn't matter what her politics are. I'm as like insanely left-wing. I discovered a lot of that was verifiably like that worldview was consistent with reality in college. And I got more extreme in college and I had more debates in college. Like, yes, maybe that is not the norm anymore. But I went to college. I had ideological debates with people.
Yeah,
and
old man Jason.
And that ensured my worldview. That actually crystallized my worldview, verified it with real data that I was able to look up at an academic level.
But how did you get past the pure communist lineup of your faculty? Like all colleges have.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they weren't communist. And I was at a premier school for politics, and guess what? They weren't communists.
You have to really fucking work hard to find an actual left-wing professor these days. I'm sorry. So even besides that problem, even besides the fact that she's saying self-censorship when she almost certainly means something more serious than that. This is in the same paper that just published like the Wiccan environmentalist. So something tells me that your insane personal beliefs are not going to stop you from getting major media attention.
But she's not trying to be a hermit like the Celtic Svelte Celt or whatever. Like she's saying, why am I not being socially accepted with my odious views? It's the same as that Atlantic article where it's like, why is it so hard to make friends in midlife? It's like, oh, because you're a psycho rag.
But wait, there's more. She's also lying. Surprise, surprise. So I read a bit of this one because I was like, we've seen this a million times. What's different? So she presents herself as a liberal Democrat throughout the whole piece.
Is this going to be like the why is no one in London date Tories?
That is exactly what it's like.
No, I'm a Lib Dem. Oh, it turns out you're not.
She presents herself as a liberal Democrat in an American context. Oops, she writes for Reason. Oops, she's a right-wing libertarian.
Right.
The entire thing was a fraud. The entire thing. It literally took me 30 seconds to establish that. How long did the New York Times research it? Guess less than that.
Doesn't matter. The title alone fits what they're trying to sell.
Sure, but like you wouldn't say this person's political view is different than they said it was because she's a propagandist and she's lying.
But the title didn't say what her political view is at all.
No, but the body does. And it claims that she's claiming that she's like, fucking Pete Buttigieg or like Hillary Clinton person, and she's actually an Ayn Rand person.
Yeah, but the Democratic Party is not libertarian, so being a
So-
libertarian's already out of the norm.
I know. That's my
Even
point.
a left libertarian like most people.
Even
on
besides the
left.
fact this girl literally looks like Ayn Rand, which should tip you off. Even besides that,
It shouldn't. It's no fucking.
no, I don't mean like by genetics. I mean by affect. Like this person has chosen to
Like
style
look
them,
evil.
to style themselves like that, which suggests who they're thinking of themselves as and what their heroes are. Yeah, like they're blatantly lying about what their politics are and what their position is right up front to the biggest paper in the country, and they can't be bothered to correct that.
I read so much Ayn Rand in high school, and that shit fell apart for 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
So shut the fuck up about self-censorship. Self-censorship means you have the good ability to self-control when to stop spewing dumb shit when the opportunity presented itself.
You can't get away with being socially liberal and fiscally conservative in America.
Yeah, I read this article because it was going around the internet, and yeah, it's incredibly stupid. And she is, in fact, completely misrepresenting herself. I mean, she has like a bunch of links in this article, sources and citations, and like half of them are to things that she's written that she like in the article. The link text is like, even though I'm a good person because I fought for civil liberties and for black people during the riots, and articles like, you should carefully talk to your family at Thanksgiving if they're being offensive. Just I'll we don't need to dwell more on her quote unquote credentials. I mean, she's a senior in college. She's not exactly a mover and shaker, though. Obviously,
Wait, what? This is like a 21-year-old?
22.
Oh my god.
Well, she obviously knows people who can get her in.
Well, I was about to say she obviously is descended from someone if she's already working for
which
Reason.
makes a ton of sense because she's
Right, she's right in the media pipeline. She's the least censored of anyone.
yeah, she's saying this in the paper of record.
All right, but
one more thing, and that's just
yeah.
the general point that bad ideas shouldn't be given oxygen. There are bad ideas and there are good ideas, and they happen to align with the political spectrum largely or almost entirely because that's the way that we've constructed things, so that can be twisted and misrepresented. But if a psychoconservative professor is saying that they're being censored and that they're feeling uncomfortable, and the things that they're being censored about are that trans people shouldn't be allowed on campus, well, they're lucky they're not tossed in a fucking well.
Yeah. Or that like the Holocaust happened, or that like the world's not going to overpopulate, so we need to like gas Mexicans or whatever the fuck their insane eugenicist shit is. Because like the stuff that actually gets you censored, which is very, very few things, is basically just hate speech. Which is like, okay, yeah, that should be censored. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
What do you got, Jason?
I'm trying to think of how to even a steel man argument here, meaning strengthening their argument as strong as it can be. Let's say this was a genuinely left-wing person.
Which is what I was hoping it would be, just because to forget to fucking change of pace.
Let's say they were serious. Let's say they were misrepresenting themselves. If you are in a classroom or an academy or a library or a debate setting, and your ideas fall under scrutiny, you have to defend them. If you don't defend them adequately, you've fucked up. No one has fucked you over. No one is messing with you. It's not projection. If you can't defend your ideas, you need to learn how to defend them better.
But she said something in class and people were uncomfortable. So she can't say it, I guess. That's literally her argument. No one actually censored her. She felt uncomfortable because she noticed that they were uncomfortable.
Being uncomfortable isn't censorship. Discomfort is not a sin. It is not a thing that must be avoided at all costs.
Oh, this is where it gets really insane. They're basically people who take this insane position of like ultimate trolling about cancel culture. They actually want to restrict your right to have an affect based on what they said. So like if you get upset or angry or confused or hurt in any way based upon like hateful speech, you're the problem instead of saying like, well, why are you using hateful speech? Like you can't say something and go, you can't have a reaction to me saying it. I mean, no one's like muzzling you. They're just like responding emotionally, naturally to when you say something insane.
But it's also not just have a reaction. It's you have to respect my reaction, but I do not have to respect yours.
Exactly.
It's always heads I win, tails you lose. It's always entirely one-sided. This girl who's 22 says, no one liked me in college because I'm a psycho, even though I have a cushy job lined up at a stink tank for the rest of my life to make 6 figures every year for the rest of my fucking life for writing total drivel. I'm the one being oppressed. Shut the fuck up.
or don't. But like, you can't complain that you need to shut the fuck up when you're published in the Times. It's just the reality. You could not be less censored. You have an enormous outspoken mouthpiece, whether it's in an extremely large, financially stable career in a think tank, or if it's in the biggest paper in the country. You clearly have more media access than almost anyone does. So to say that you are in any way restricted is completely absurd, which is the entire problem with the whole like cancel culture
Right.
panic. Is like, the people who are saying that they're canceled have some of the biggest audiences and some of the most reach of anyone in the world.
And it's also created a new cottage industry. It's like I was talking about with the you can't get your religious mumbo jumbo published in a scientific journal, so they make their own religious scientific journals. There is now a cottage industry of people who said they've been canceled by media and popular culture, and so they create media around being canceled. So you're not being canceled then if you've created your own fucking silo and you create your own platform.
So not only are they not being canceled because they're very clearly in access to tremendously wide-ranging, wide-audienced places to speak. Their whole argument is basically like, I feel emotionally wronged,
and they should.
This, and the only thing they're complaining about is other people feeling emotionally wronged.
They should feel emotionally bad for their shit worldview and shit takes.
Which is it, right? Like, do we care about people's response or not? If we say that like emotional damage, essentially, like feeling fragile or feeling whatever is a real thing, then you need to shut the fuck up because your hate speech is bothering people. And if it's not a real thing, then shut the fuck up because we don't care about your emotional issues.
Or even if it's not hate speech. If you're just like a normal libertarian and your argument about roads and taxes like immediately falls flat because it's a paper tiger, guess what? You have bad arguments. Sit in it. Or change your views.
You can't say I need a safe space because of how upset I got when people talked about safe spaces. You need to pick one of those options.
No, they just want a right-wing safe space. They want it to be the old days where the right wing were the only people listened to. They had all the respect and they didn't just have the money and the power. They also had the respect because it's the fucking Godfather. So they still have access to the money and power, but what do they crave more than anything? They crave the respect. And she's upset that she isn't getting the respect that fucking, that douchebag who debated Gordon Vidal had. She wants the respect.
What, Buckley?
Yeah, she wants the respect that old school conservatives got, even though she still has all the access to the streams of money and power.
Yeah.
But she can't have what she wants, which is respect.
This is like listening to someone from like the 50s being like, I just watched a black and white couple kiss and it made me sick. I can't even right now. I need a safe space. It's like, you cannot be reactionary and appeal to these like progressive niche things that you mock in the same sentence and be taken even remotely seriously.
This makes you think she is more like a Democrat because this is the Hillary move.
Well, it's the far right Democrat thing, which is indistinguishable from the right wing thing, which is to puppet a propaganda.
This is what Hillary did to Bernie. Oh, he's the bad one. He's the one who's hurting my feelings.
Yeah.
Oh, don't listen to the fact that I'm evil.
What do you got to do?
Just two closing things for my part in this, and that's one. Yeah, I also looked her up after that, and she interns and uses this to bolster her argument, evidence and sourcing from FIRE, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education, which is a Koch and Bradley Foundation.
Oh, great!
Extremely right wing.
That might actually be worse than Reason.
Yeah, nonprofit.
Yeah.
And second, on a lighter note, also maybe you were ostracized because you came to college to argue with people.
It's supposed to learn, yeah.
It's a normal thing to do.
I also knew debate-obsessed people, and they were very obnoxious and tended to have small in-groups for a good reason. I also knew plenty of debaters who were nice people, but she certainly doesn't give off the vibe of someone that you could get along with easily.
I was on the college debate team, and there were a few kinds of people there, right? There were some people who are like putting in their time so that they could become a college a Democrat or whatever when they got out of there. There were people
like
who
in the machinery.
Yeah, they wanted to just kind of learn how to do lawyer shit so that they could become a politician.
Senators in training, yeah.
And similar to that was like the people who wanted to become lawyers and all that. And then you had the people who were just like, I'm bored and I need a social activity. And then you had the people who were like, looking to like score friends and contacts and just network through it. And then you had the real psychos who were like, arguing is the only time I feel alive.
Right.
They were just there to scream at people. And I was like, all right, this isn't really normal or sane in any way. Like, I like doing it because I had friends who did it in high school and it was just like a fun activity to do because it was like smart people arguing about complicated things.
Yeah.
But the people who were there were like, if they weren't in one of those more boring humdrum kind of categories, then they were usually insane.
But
And they were
also,
just like, I'm here to scream.
arguing is underrepresenting what debating actually is. It's learning other people's positions. It's learning how to defend a position. It's learning how to make counter arguments. Like, it's not just arguing because you're mad. It's learning.
Well, yeah.
It's a combination of conversation and learning. And so, yeah, I mean, once again, it's not like I went around college, all I did was debate people. No, in fact, it happens probably less than you think. You go there to learn. If you're asked about your view, you then defend it. Like, it's not that complicated. It's not that unreasonable for people to defend their positions if their positions have been articulated or asked about.
Well, and also, it's really just a quality of your ability to debate that you don't offend people, because there's ways to say evil things very politely.
And there's ways to say good things very poorly.
Like, Barack Obama exists. He did almost pure evil, and everyone loves this motherfucker because he was so eloquent and erudite and scholarly about it. But it's like if Dick Cheney was like, why does no one like me? It's like, well, because you're Dick Cheney. Like, because you weren't the face, you were the heel. Like, you have the evil ideas. You're like intelligent enough to put them together, but like you're not a charismatic individual. You're not someone who convinces people of these evil things. You're just kind of planning them in the shadows. So she needs to go work in her think tank and go plan evil from the shadows like she always intended to, and shut up. Like, because she's not good at it then. I don't know what else to say. Get good or get out.
But stop trying to blame other people for your being bad at the world.
Yeah. Like, again, there's tons of good manipulators and liars who could have said the same exact shit and gotten away with it.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, this is why the right wing is obsessed with arguing about college. Because they're salty. They've lost the battle of ideas. Yeah. Now, the left has also lost the battle of ideas out of sheer numbers and like will and resources. I think their ideas are correct, but like the battle's been lost at the colleges. Colleges are run by elite liberals who hold a lot of the same financial views as conservatives. They're not.
They're held by classical liberals,
right,
who have typically exactly her politics without realizing it, which is economic fiscal conservatism and social progressivism.
But their backlash,
which is to say that they'll give you things that don't matter for their bottom line.
Right. Conservative backlash, though, is not to let's try and convince a groundswell of people that we're all being fucked. It's no, give me a cushy job and let me feel special.
Yeah. If anything, I think what they're angry about is that they've won, but they're not special as a result.
Right, because they don't have the respect.
Because like
that's all they want.
Being a social conservative is not really respectable these days. You're typically thought of as like a crank if that's your only thing.
Yeah, you go to a bar and other 22-year-olds laugh you out of the bar because like I don't date Republicans.
But if you're a fiscal conservative, then everyone's a fiscal conservative unless you're in this like marginalized left-wing contingent or depoliticized because you're so despairing. So there's nothing to make you unique or interesting. Right. So if you're a conservative, what do you run on?
Right. If you're a conservative, it means you're a social conservative, and that is disgusting.
Yeah, because if you're a fiscal conservative, then you can just run as a Democrat.
Or or not even run as a Democrat, just be a normal person. Most people
you can run your life as a Democrat.
Most people have these views, like I don't want to spend money on taxes. I don't want Medicare. Like, most people have kind of not respectful views on how money should be used, how economies function.
But once again, they're much more butthurt about the fact that they kind of lost the narrative about like quote unquote culture war concerns than they are about the fact that they've been victorious in the thing that actually mattered the most to them, which was taking total control of the economy and military and all that.
So they run this. So they run this eternal ideological crusade to win back the hearts and minds of people who they've betrayed.
Which, of course, they're never going to do. They're not going to win that because there's nothing left to argue there. It would never make any sense in the first place.
You're not going to convince black people to get back in the chains.
Yeah, really.
You can only immiserate them further through law.
Which they're also doing, but that's a separate question.
Right. What I'm saying is they're using their actual power to achieve their goals. They're not going to convince people to adopt their goals. They're going to have to force them through legal means and financial means.
Maybe she just needs to listen to the pod, because now we're going to cover some people who are suddenly leftists and who actually figured out how to do that despite having been reactionary this whole time. From Fox Business and then from CNN.
Yeah, I just want to preface this. I am not as offended by people who have come to leftism late. Everyone learns shit at a different rate. Everyone's a different age. People, the fact that you can admit you were wrong at some point is good. There's a lot of people who kind of like browbeat on who gets to be on the left, and you know I'm not here for it. So let's hear what these people say about on the left.
Even besides the fact that most of those people are not genuine in any such conversion, that's not actually what I'm talking about. It's mostly a joke.
I know. I'm just saying I don't view this shit as in-group, out-group. All that matters is good ideas being passed into policy.
So from Fox and then CNN are two articles about the same topic. I just wanted to get both for the frame of reference here. Italian authorities seize Russian-owned yachts. Quote, report. These are the latest seizures, joining others France and Germany have done. And the other article is Biden is vowing to seize Russian oligarchs' yachts. Here's where they are right now. So all of these Western countries, helmed by their unavowed, unabashedly capitalist leaders and nationalist leaders, are all suddenly fine with seizing the assets of billionaires.
You tricked me.
Yes, I did.
This isn't leftism. This is just anti-Russian shit.
You couldn't sense
Yes, that's the joke.
the dripping sarcasm.
Yes, the joke is that they're suddenly willing to do left-wing things when it's framed as a nationalist conflict.
But
Suddenly, seizing billionaires' assets because they're evil and supporting evil is fine as long as it's the kind of evil they care about, which is not just poverty or immiseration, but a nationalist conflict.
right, but see, I don't think they'd even consider what they're doing leftist.
Of course it isn't. It's a left-wing policy for a right-wing reason.
And it's not even that leftist to see. It's not seizing the means. It's just seizing their assets.
Well, let's
Which
put it
we
this
love
way. Let's put it this way. If Bernie Sanders was like, we need to seize the yachts of the oligarchs and, put them toward universal health care. It's like, well, yeah, then it would be like a center left to left wing
Yeah, but
position.
what I'm saying is, if you seize someone's yacht who's rich, they'll just get another yacht like in a few years.
Yeah.
If you seize their factory and you seize their bank account, they can't get another yacht in a few years when things could die down.
Yeah, you have to seize the means of yachting. But yeah, I guess what I'm saying is even something as limited as taking the property and assets of the ultra rich who couldn't possibly spend or use it in any productive way for some positive end, which is a very easy thing that anyone could have done at any time, as evidenced by how quickly they're doing it now, can only seemingly be triggered by national chauvinism and war fever. Instead of just like, that's the common sense thing to have done this whole time.
Yeah, because they need to wait until it's vindictive and ineffectual to do it.
Yeah.
They did it, as part of their policy. It would do actual good, which is not the goal.
And they'll somehow try and frame it that this is like seizing red yachts. They're somehow going to convince themselves that these fucking plutocratic like oligarchs in Russia are
they're leftists,
Soviet.
of course. Yeah, they're Soviet Unionists.
Ridiculous.
The oligarchs that we dismantled the Soviet Union and
Right, who were literally part of the White Army dismantling the Soviet
Yeah.
Union from within.
Who are the far right vultures, like tearing apart the flesh and body politic of the entire country?
Right.
Those are socialists.
This
Apparently.
is like arresting the Tony Montanas, but like fucking Cuban communists. Like what? No, they're like literally the opposite of that. So dumb.
Yeah, it was actually news to me that there were that there was any kind of illusion in any corners of the political sphere that Russia was still communist, that Putin was even still bandying that term around from time to time. It's just so unbelievable and so transparently false. It's bizarre to me. Like I like China, I at least get, because like they're one of the things that they're famous for is like centralized economic planning and
pretending that they're communist.
Yeah, pretending that they're communist. Exactly. It's part of their messaging. But yeah, Russia's just like blatantly been a oligarchy for so long, or autocracy.
Yeah, because we designed it in the breakup of the Soviet Union.
No,
like,
Alex,
we have to make sure it's that way.
It can't be possible.
Well, and then there was the picking of winners and losers of who gets the.
Yeah, like we helped them engineer their insane privatization scheme where like 10 people became owners of all of Russia because of the horrible way that we parceled out public utilities in the breakup of the Soviet Union and basically created every one of these oligarchs. And we're like, this is fine. This is normal. This is a normal thing to have done, is to turn all the assets of the country over to like 12 guys. And of course, now we're seizing their yachts, but it's like, they're like, what do you want? Like, you made us. Like, now you hate us?
And have Putin basically steal it all anyway.
Yeah, who we also basically made because we were tired of Yeltsin drunking it up. So like, our investments turned out to be bad when we made a dictator and oligarchs. How could we have foreseen this? Yeah, really, really fucking wild that now we're suddenly having buyer's remorse once again. It always takes about 20 years. 20 years after we fund this strange Mujahideen bin Laden operation, it goes bad. 20 years after we basically restructure and fund this fucking Putin oligarch situation, it seems to have gone bad. But we never like think twice about doing the next one.
Some sort of hip hop style Mujahideen.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's always the common man and the working class that suffers. And they're not the ones in power. Oh. Why would you introspect on the non-existent costs? No.
But, But before we even move on to this, because you said mentioned earlier, like, oh, they're all still acting like it's the Soviet Union. Before the invasion of Ukraine, Putin gave a speech in which he fucking roasts Lenin for giving away Ukraine. I'm not even kidding. The entire speech was like, fuck Vladimir Lenin and fuck the Soviet Union. That was like half his speech, because he said that Ukraine was Lenin's insane mental invention. Like, he was trying to deny the historical. He was trying to
the
deny
existence of Ukraine.
the existence of Ukraine as like a people for like 400 years before that, or 1,000 years, depending on which ones you're talking about. And he was just like, Lenin invented it as like a Soviet socialist republic,
as a meme, as a prank.
as a prank against me.
Man, Lenin would be rolling in his grave if he wasn't made of wax.
Yeah, like Lenin would shoot this motherfucker himself, like acting as though he's like.
Nah, he'd get Stalin to do it.
Well, regardless, I mean, Lenin killed some motherfuckers too. Like he was kind of a real G, and also a sociopath in his own way.
Yeah,
but like
a bit of a monster. But
yeah, like he had plenty of leftist whacks who he didn't agree with, and he had no problem doing it to the right.
Don't blame me. I voted for Trotsky.
But fucking like, are you kidding? Like, the people acting like this is some sort of Soviet invasion. It's like he started it with a speech about fuck the Soviet Union. Like that. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, that's literally what the intro speech to the invasion was. So anyone who paid attention to that knows better. But I guess they don't care.
No.
Yeah, what was Bush's invading intro speech about? Like fucking dolphins or some bullshit?
Putinism is neo-communism. That's what he was trying to say.
Imagine if George Bush's starting speech was like, the cowboys and Indians were the real villains. You know, we should have been given land back to the indigenous peoples. And then he invaded. Like, what? Like, he's rejecting the very thing that he's famously associated with. So it just makes no sense. For Putin to explicitly reject the Soviet Union as the reason he now needs to do this invasion could not be a more blatant indication that he wants to be like a czar, not like a premier.
Yeah.
But no one seems to be picking up on that. Anyway, I just want people to remember that we always had this option. We always had the option of seizing the yachts. We just weren't doing it.
100%.
But there's more. There was a story recently about another sudden turn. I don't know if this is a sudden leftist turn because it's already a left-wing country, but from Reuters, Venezuela frees 2 Americans after talks with U.S.
That's nice.
Which turns out to be
their new. Wait, no, they didn't have the new president. That's Chile.
No, it's still Maduro. They've stabilized a little bit since the most extreme chaos of the last decade, and also the U.S. coup attempt and all the other shit, which they've managed to survive because it was laughable. But they let go of a couple people. One of whom was one of the Citgo executives that they prosecuted for corruption, and another one was some other oil-based company.
Is that why you mentioned Citgo earlier?
Yeah, it was on the mind because I was reading about this. But
what could be happening to war relations?
Yeah,
Venezuela. Let me think.
Venezuela and the U.S. are suddenly having a détente. Why could that have happened? It's not like 95% of their exports are petroleum.
No, it's a turn to the left, as you said, Alex.
Venezuela suddenly got their act together, and the U.S. is here for it.
Yeah, but see, for right-wing psychos, like, Biden's a fair socialist now. Look at him.
Yeah.
We're going to deal with Venezuela to get our people back.
Biden now believes in liberation theology. He's a Catholic. It's proven. Square the circle.
Square the circle, Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next thing from Taylor Greene is going to be, he's trying to lower oil prices by giving us
that bastard
socialist oil. That bastard.
Right. We only want good oil prices from good old fascists like Saudi Arabia and Russia.
Killed 1,000 ducks and fish. We don't want it.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
How is the Republican Party handling this Russia bad guys right now?
Oh, we'll talk about that.
Because they seem to be kind of mum on the whole issue.
Our next whole section is the Red Scare shit. We'll get to that.
I don't mean the Red Scare. I mean the Republican Party in their defending themselves and defending Trump from the Democrats.
They're not defending Trump. The vast majority are saying he was wrong to have in any way supported Putin and that Putin's a piece of shit. So the Republicans are pretty much one mind on this, other than Trump.
Forget the Republicans who are elected. Grassroots conservatives like Russia. They like
that's true. But that's because of Trump.
So how are they handling this war where everyone's saying no, you can't like Russia right now? Yeah,
we'll talk about that in a little bit. But there's not a lot to say yet because that's still kind of being figured out by them.
Okay.
But in this case, the reason I thought this one was interesting, even besides the fact that it's very obviously a self-interested way of getting oil now that we sanctioned Russia, is that they still couldn't just like behave themselves for 5 minutes to set up their corrupt oil deal, which ironically is why these people were prosecuted in the first place. Because even though Venezuela freed these people of their own volition, even though it was before their terms were up for their convictions on corruption charges, they're just like handing them to the U.S. as a goodwill gesture. Instead of being like, hey, thanks, Mac, Biden was still like, suck my dick, Mac. Like, I wish I was joking. Let me find the quote.
But he definitely at least wholesale lifted sanctions as thanks, right?
I wouldn't count on it.
Yeah.
Where's the... Hang on, let me find the article. So, first of all, he refuses to recognize that it was actually Venezuela who released them. He just says, tonight, 2 Americans who were wrongfully detained in Venezuela will be able to hug their families once more. We're bringing them home, he said.
Like we did a fucking SEAL Team 6 mission.
Right.
Like this is the Iran.
He gave no more details about the release. They were released freely by the Venezuelan government as part of a deal, probably.
And they weren't being detained just because they're American. They're being detained for crimes.
Right, they're being detained for crimes that if you believe in the concept of states and governments having the right to prosecute people with their legal systems, they were convicted of in a corruption trial. Now, whether or not that's a legitimate trial, you can argue, but they haven't proved it isn't. They're just like asserting it isn't. So not only did they not appreciate that this was like a goodwill gesture, they're actively denying that it was even them who did it. They're acting like it was an op.
Only American courts are legitimate, even though they're like the biggest clown show of the entire world.
Yeah, so it's just the Biden administration is not even trying to pretend like this is what it is.
They're so afraid of being called liberal.
Yeah.
That they were like, no, we'll out-conservative you.
But this is the other reason I put this in this suddenly leftist thing. It's like now they're police abolitionists and prison abolitionists. As long as it's Venezuelan police or prison. Yeah, it's like now they understand the concept that a crime can be fraudulently prosecuted and convicted, but only when it's an oil executive in Venezuela.
Must decarcerate Venezuela.
Decarcerate CEOs who are convicted of corruption in Venezuela.
Well, yeah, because that is the American norm.
It's hilarious to me that they understand exactly what we're talking about, but they only want to apply it to like 3 people in the 1%.
Or arrest lawyers
to
trying to convict those
baby
people.
steps, Alex. They'll get there.
Oh, not baby steps.
We still haven't fucking freed the guy in New York City who was tried in a private court.
Yeah,
we can free these people.
Yeah,
Tony Stark can do this in a cave.
Basically, yeah.
They could put a man on the moon.
Can I just share this?
You gotta get Brian Regan on the
same topic.
Brian Regan, come on.
Wall Street Journal headline on the same subject, which just sounds like a confused like notes app wondering.
Yeah, go ahead.
From the editorial board, hostages for oil from Venezuela? ?
It's like a hint in a crossword puzzle.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like just vague enough that you kind of know what they're getting at, but you're not sure, so you have to piece it together. So it's almost like this is some sort of Iran-Contra. There's some sort of dirty deal, and it's like, well, actually, everyone wins. They're like, shut up.
No.
This is the 9/11 of oil.
You're saying it was a false conviction, and we're saying we need oil.
Everyone doesn't win, because we get Citgo execs back.
Well, right, but like people who have been in prison for 5 years, which if they say that they're unjustly imprisoned, right, then the implication would be we're getting people back from an unjust imprisonment, and we get resources for it. So that would be an everyone wins if you took their.
You're the executive of an oil company. You have blood on your hands.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have no doubt they do, especially because they almost certainly were one of the motives for the Trump coup. Like trying to free people who are American citizens.
I don't know if I'd give Trump. I don't know if I'd associate that really with Trump.
Well, let's put it this way: Trump made no bones about the fact that he was blatantly trying to overthrow the Venezuelan government, and he sent a fucking like SEAL Team -6 to do it because they fell apart the instant they got there.
Once again, I don't remember the story well enough. I don't think he sent them. I thought they did of their own volition because they're psychos.
No, he absolutely sent them. They owned it like a month into it. Like, yeah, we fucked up. We tried to overthrow Venezuela. It didn't work out too well. Good luck, fuckers.
I didn't remember.
Yeah, it was a Trump administration botch job, as they botch everything.
Well, yeah, everything was botched. They're just fucking. Was that show? Like, there's like a botch. There's like a reality show on TLC about.
Yeah. But
the fact that was only 2020.
It was like it's only been 2 years since they tried to blatantly overthrow the government, and this guy's like trying to do a goodwill gesture, and America's like, eat shit. Suck our dick. It's like we're like worse than fucking like online shooter trolls. It's like you try to fucking assassinate this dude and overthrow his government. He gives you a goodwill gesture, and you still can't even say like, all right, that was pretty big of you.
Yeah, because we can't ever say good game.
It's just
We're
like we fucked your mom. Like that's what it is. It's so fucking petty and embarrassing. We're the biggest, most powerful country on earth, and we wonder why we're losing our prestige. It's shit like this. Learn decorum. Like learn basic ways of doing diplomacy, you fucking idiots. Holy shit. I wouldn't do anything for the US if I was a foreign government because they're not going to even give you credit. Speaking of which, the only thing that can apparently reform the US is the US, and in a rare actual sort of left-wing thing in this section from CNN, Guantanamo detainee repatriated to mental health facility in Saudi Arabia after being tortured and held by the US government for over 20 years.
I'm laughing at the mental health facility in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck they're going to do about this.
I can't even imagine what gets done in that place.
But even besides the absurdity of trying to figure that one out, CNN is openly owning that Guantanamo Bay is torture and an illegal hostage taking, basically, which is pretty big for CNN.
Yeah, well, we're past that stage of needing Guantanamo, so we can acknowledge it was evil.
Like, if The Intercept said this in like 2005, they would have gotten in shit, especially if they existed then, which I'm not sure
it's these days.
But the point is, if like a left-wing publication said anything even remotely close to this during the War on Terror, they would have gotten enormous grief. So
yeah, but it's 20 years old.
It's odd. It's just odd to see it.
You can only admit after the fact. It's been declassified that it was evil, so we can all acknowledge now it was evil. We weren't allowed to acknowledge it then because it was super secret, hush-hush national security.
Except a lot of people were acknowledging it then. They were just told to shut the fuck up.
Hush-hush. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more.
Doing too little too late. It's still doing something, CNN.
Oh yeah, it should be mentioned, of like the 47 people who were in Guantanamo at the start of the Biden administration, this is the second one who has been released. It's been a year, over a year.
What do you think the odds are that he was actually from Saudi Arabia, that they just toss him into some random country?
I don't believe he's from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah, but Saudi Arabia will take him in.
It was a place that we were allied with who said they would take him that was Muslim. I think that's all it took.
He's going to go to this mental health facility and get good food with Wahhabi sauce.
Now, oh God.
Got him. That's a good one.
So it wasn't terrible. It just hurt. But the article claimed that he was going to go visit his family. Now, maybe his family is currently in Saudi Arabia, but I do not believe he was originally from there. I'm pretty sure they scooped him up in Afghanistan and were just like, this guy was going to do 9/11. He's like, I was. And then they
He's
never
like a goat farmer.
They never proved it in any way. In fact, they dropped the charges in 2008, which generally means they had no substance. And they're like, yeah, but now we abused him, so he might be a threat. So we're just going to hold him here for another 13 years. Good luck.
See you later, fuckers.
Sorry, we believe we turned you into a secret threat.
That scene from the last Batman movie where Bane just flies out of the top of the plane.
It's always incredible how hard America works to create terrorists.
Mm-hmm. That's like our #1 export.
Against ourselves.
We're
playing Risk against ourselves.
Yeah, we like playing on hard mode. Hard mode is immiserating all the NPCs.
Yeah, what are we trying to create happiness around here? Shut the fuck up.
Well, anytime we walk to the Middle East and we saw something remotely suspicious, you see like the quick save button highlight in Skyrim, and we just start blowing up every civilian.
Okay, that's the next thing. We've gotten lethal aid. Next one is lethal happiness.
We have to release him before he finds happiness in a torture prison. All right. Well, I've dragged my heels on this. Let's talk about Russia.
Oh boy.
There's a lot of stuff to talk about here, so I've selected it just kind of down to a few themes. Let's start with the always sane British take on this shit from the independent.co.uk.
We say it in a shrewd female British voice.
I think it's an old fat guy. So I don't think they're British.
Russia.
I think they're female.
and Whitcomb.
Russia bombed a maternity hospital.
Yeah, it's what I was telling you about.
And the West let them do it.
What? Huh?
Had Putin been faced with firm resolve before, he would not be pushing his luck now. Like a soldier with a bayonet,
Bitch, are you for real?
he
We bombed the
prods-
dirty wards.
He prods the West and has found only mush.
Fucking put your head in an oven.
Like, literally last year, we bombed a maternity ward in Yemen or some shit. Like, what the fuck is this person smoking?
That was a tragic necessity of committing a separate
Why does this person care about Ukrainian maternity wards as opposed to anyone else's?
because
Or
they
just
sell
human
better
dignity?
because they sell better than like a tank being destroyed because they have to talk about something that you can't ignore. That's it. It's just a propaganda piece. But even besides the obvious, like, yeah, he certainly doesn't give a shit when the West does it. But how would we have stopped him from destroying that maternity ward? Pray tell.
Land war.
Why are they slavering for this no-fly zone? I don't know. It's nuclear war.
Yes, they want to end the world. As I've said for the millionth
Right.
time, even libs and Democrats want to end the world because they're all
These
fucking psychos.
Are the two most heavily armed nuclear countries on Earth. If they start a conflict, it could very easily lead to a nuclear conflict,
You know what?
especially because Russia has indicated that they're in possession of tactical nuclear weapons and they already have them armed and ready for use on the battlefield, which the US would, of course, not tolerate. We might actually take it from there to a full-on nuclear war. How do they not understand that would destroy Britain? Do they not understand that Britain won't survive that just because it happens
the
in
Queen's
Ukraine?
great.
No. Britain's not saying we should do anything about it. They're saying America should do something about it.
But like that, if the U.S. and the Russia get into a nuclear conflict, it will not be fine just because you're a few thousand kilometers away.
Once again, I will be the rightest person on the pile of ash when it turns out the Democrats are just as committed to the apocalypse as everyone else, like I told you.
I don't think that they realize they are. I think that they're like stumbling ass backwards into a nuclear warhead.
Correct. And I never said they realize how apocalyptic they are. But they are, through their actions and their policies, they are just as apocalyptic as the right-wing people think God's coming.
Well, bear in mind, this is also a British guy. This isn't the Democrats. The Democrats have actually been remarkably timid about starting a nuclear war.
Because they're afraid.
See Biden, not putting us on full alert for nuclear conflict, even though Putin did.
Yeah, but he would if he could.
No, he could. He was asked to. He didn't.
No, what I'm saying is if he felt comfortable or safe that he'd have the support and backing, I think he'd be willing. I don't know.
No, I really don't think so. This is one of the only things I think he's doing right, which is he's listening to advisors who are saying Putin's just being like a menace. Don't let it escalate, which is one of the few things that's like a reasonable
But how many more op-eds of losers not in charge telling him to bomb Russia is it going to take before he breaks?
I guess we'll find out. But I'm just glad this piece of shit isn't in charge of anything. Or we would all be dead, basically.
The gall to say the West let it happen. It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
I mean, if like a Ukrainian said this, I would say fine. I understand it, 100%. Yes, we could have stopped it. We shouldn't risk nuclear war, but you are literally seeing your family, your friends die.
Your family, your country torn asunder.
Some fat British prick talking about this.
Yeah, saying America's not good enough at empire. Fuck off.
Your fucking bayonet. Put it where the sun doesn't shine.
Well, he's just salty because he knows that the British don't have power anymore. So he's like, America, you're the new British Empire. Why can't you be good at it? And by good at it, I mean destroy everything.
Because America's power is dwindling just as much.
You know how we famously save foreigners, the British Empire?
Yeah.
Why don't you do what we did?
Let's also put something straightforward. It is horrible and disgusting that Russia is attacking really anything.
No doubt.
If they were targeting military targets, it's so bad. They shouldn't be doing this. The whole war is unjustified. We get it. No one, that's never up for debate. We're not defending Russia. The point is, we're also not defending imperialism. You don't fight imperialism with other imperialism.
Also, if the argument is civilian, especially, infant or female or otherwise non-combatant death is a strong motivator to intervene in a conflict, Britain and the US sure fucking dragged their heels in the Holocaust, didn't they?
Well, yeah, let's go from then. Russia lost tens of millions of people in World War II, and they were our allies. We killed 1 million people in Iraq. We killed hundreds of thousands in Afghanistan. We killed nearly 1 million in Vietnam. Our track record
nearly 1 million. We killed 2.5 million in Vietnam.
I wasn't sure the exact numbers. We have the worst track record of genocide since the Nazis.
Right. I mean, it's completely insane to act as though the West has ever prioritized civilian life and the life of the most vulnerable people just because it's like, oh, that's an emotionally heartfelt thing. Yeah, it is an emotionally heartfelt thing. They don't care about it. They've never cared about it.
And we're acting like Ukraine is our little brother, who's like been our best friend our whole lives, who's always been there through thick and thin. We don't know fucking dick about Ukraine.
Look, Zelensky's getting shot at by like assassination squads, and he's calling for a no-fly zone because he knows he's going to die any moment if Ukraine, gets swamped. But he's fighting for his life because he knows he could die at any moment, and he's saying shit that would provoke nuclear war because for him it's that or he dies. For anyone who's not in that situation, be saying let's do nuclear war or let's very seriously flirt with it is just being reckless and insane. Like there's no way that kills fewer total people than a land war between two countries, no matter how big they are.
I have a question. How small a satellite state would this conflict have to be for us to not care? So obviously people care because it's Ukraine. Ukraine's a relatively big country. But if it was Romania or Bulgaria or Hungary or Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic or Lithuania or Latvia or Estonia, like, would we give a shit? Or Moldova? Would we give a shit at all?
No, probably not. In fact, we watched him invade Georgia and Chechnya and stuff, and no one gave a shit. We only care because it's a big old country that we were thinking of, like, maybe is in the European orbit.
Right. It's this selective listing of, like, well, Turkey tried to get the EU. The EU said, suck my dick. And like, all right, well, I guess we'll turn to fascism. Ukraine's like, please listen to the EU so Russia won't steal us. And the EU's like, yeah, we'll drag our heels.
When they were fucking blowing up, like, Chechen Muslim orphanages, no one gave a shit.
Right. Why is it this big
now we care
saying that?
Now we care because it's a big European country.
Right, and it's essentially a proxy war. It allows us to fight over quote-unquote Ukraine, but it's really not a fight over Ukraine. It's a fight over which big country is going to lead the rest of the world in the future.
And if we actually gave a shit about
while China bides its time,
then we would have done something about it well before now. The time to fight this conflict was over the last 30 years since the breakup of the Soviet Union to find a sustainable politics for mending the Eastern and Western European divide that was the foundation of like the Warsaw Pact versus NATO Cold War conflict, and to find a way to placate both sides in that so that they don't feel like that they need to go to each other's fucking throats. Instead, we're just like, well, let's expand NATO forever and make Russia feel marginalized and see what they do.
Let's see how they react.
We're just playing brinksmanship with a belligerent power that we created.
We'll just do a react video with them. We'll see how they react.
So we're going to put an authoritarian dictator in place because we're tired of Soviets, and we're going to put all the money and power in the hands of like a handful of oligarchs, and then we're going to constantly poke the bear and just see what happens. Well, this is what happened. It wasn't that hard to foresee. Putin's been doing belligerent, aggressive military actions at a ramping scale for almost his entire presidency. He made his name as like a wartime leader. That's his whole thing. So like this was as foreseeable as possible that he was going to continue to do stuff like this. He even invaded Ukraine itself 8 years ago. Did we know for sure he was going to invade exactly now and exactly to what degree? No, we didn't. But did we know that he was going to do something like this repeatedly? Yes, we did.
Yeah, everyone's been saying he's a loose cannon the whole time. We all get it. No one can act surprised. This was not a surprise ambush attack.
And to say, let's expand NATO by like double the number of countries. And when Putin actually himself asked to join NATO, he was like laughed at by Bill Clinton. It's like, well, I mean, what? Like, he's a piece of shit, but like, if you acknowledge that there's plenty of other pieces of shit that we do business with, you couldn't fucking placate them and like give them formal recognition in a way that makes their ego soothed so they don't do dumb belligerent shit. I'm just saying, like, this is how international politics works. Most world leaders are not exactly fucking peaceniks. But to act as though we should be in any way, shape, or form surprised that this person who feels increasingly pressured and marginalized and encircled by NATO is lashing out in a dumbass, violent, aggressive way, and then be like, how could he have done this? What the fuck are you talking about? You idiots were saying he was going to do this for like 15 years. How did you not have a plan? Where are the realists and what was their plan? Because I don't know what it was.
And even if we take a little bit of the blame away of like, you squeezed him into a corner, like, you still knew he was going to behave badly, even if you didn't squeeze him into a corner. He's a piece of shit.
But he kind of highlighted from a mile away what he's planning to do. So again, should he be invading Ukraine? Obviously, he shouldn't be fucking invading Ukraine.
No one should be invading anyone.
But we couldn't have possibly said, "Oh, we didn't know this was coming," or we didn't set up the fucking dominoes in this way.
I can't believe
and are just kind of watching them fall. You want to talk about fucking domino theory? Install Putin, install oligarchs, pressure them, see what they do. This is what they do. We should have fucking cooed him in the first year of his presidency if that was what we were actually worried about. Because he was clearly a strong man.
Or never let him get there.
Right.
Just get someone with the ice pick to fucking get him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When Stalin was like killing his political opponents by the thousands, was anyone like, he'll turn around? No, we all knew where that was going.
Just one more.
It's just like completely insane to act like now Putin's done it.
One neat trick.
Putin's been jailing his political opponents and like putting like polonium in anyone who bothers him overseas for decades. This is not new.
Nothing but a G thing.
It's just insane to act like now Putin's evil. Okay. Sure.
No one could have seen this coming.
And it really just so clearly reveals the lie behind things like nuclear peace theory or like Thomas Friedman McDonald's peace theory.
Yeah.
Because all those are really saying is not that war can be prevented between quote unquote civilized countries. That's press and punditry, where it's not my own words. It's saying that it's very unlikely that there will be direct war between superpowers with nuclear arsenals. People are still going to get crushed between them. Their interests are not going to wane in any way. Right. It's just going to somewhat redirect that force towards people who have even less ability to combat it, as we're seeing now, which is just wonderful to see.
Wonderful.
And you know what? Ukraine is getting horribly fucked right now. And I would love to see anyone who can put forward a theory on how to prevent that doesn't trigger nuclear war. I'd love to see it. I don't know what it is. I haven't heard it yet. So if someone can show us what that is, please do so.
Do you think it was funny how everyone called Nixon a pussy for trying to disarm?
Yeah.
The de-nuke?
Because again, like this is a sickening and pointless invasion. It's almost exactly the same as like the war in Iraq, where a powerful major power in the world is like, okay, we're just going to do an invasion, and dares the world to stop them.
Right, exactly. It's a great analogy. Now, it actually makes a little more sense for them to invade Ukraine.
Oh no, theirs is actually slightly more rational. It's still horribly evil, but
I know. But what I'm saying is, where was this British fuck in 2002 saying the rest of the world will fight a nuclear conflict with America over invading Afghanistan?
Right. Imagine if Britain was like, we're going to put a no-fly zone in Iraq against the U.S.
We're going to have a no-fly zone over the Atlantic.
Yeah, Britain's going to start shooting down American planes over Iraq to save Iraqi moms.
God, shut the fuck up.
Where the fuck was that article, you fucking bloviating asshole?
In fact, this guy was probably in the room when the guy pressed the like white phosphorus button.
Yeah,
in Iraq. I mean, fuck off. Shut off.
It's just completely insane. Not even an attempt to hide the total lack of giving a shit when it's like a brown person or a Muslim person or someone who doesn't recognize their ethnic identity across the other side of the world. But suddenly when it's like a vaguely white person who's vaguely Christian, they're interested. Shut up. You don't care about this. You've never cared about this. It's
right.
Totally
it's the earlier part, like we know nothing about Ukraine as a people. America has zero relationship with Ukraine. Obviously, there are some Ukrainian Americans.
Yeah, I mean, we're descended from Ukrainian Americans.
As I was going to say, in our family even. But the point is, America does not have a strong diplomatic NATO tie to Ukraine. Yeah. So anyone
Which, again, was the whole point.
Is pretty much just engaging in racial politics.
If we wanted to get Ukraine into NATO, we should have done it 5 years ago so that this doesn't happen. And if we didn't want to get them to NATO, we should stop acting like we did so Putin freaked out.
But like the whole reason why the EU, it was sketchy on Turkey and Ukraine. It's like, they're not really European enough.
But also because Turkey kept like turning more and more dictatorial.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is even before Erdogan took his worst turn, they tried to get into the EU and he was like, fuck off, you're Muslim.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is European exceptionalism prevented these people who wanted to integrate, who wanted to be more European, who wanted protection of the West, from even joining, and now they're getting fucked over, and we're like, how can we have let this happen?
Do you think Ukraine regrets ever trusting the West?
Absolutely.
Like, do you think Ukraine's like, maybe we shouldn't have started being so like pro-European, seeing as they're watching us get butchered and don't give a shit? Like, to this guy's point, to the extent that let's pretend he was not an asshole. Let's pretend there is a point to this, which is like we're letting Ukraine get fucked. Yeah, we are. Because we always were going to, because there was no mechanism by which we could prevent that other than committing ourselves to something we don't want to commit to. So why would Ukraine have ever thought that Europe was going to be its ally? I mean, they're closer culturally and historically to Russia, and Russia's fucking them. So what the fuck do they expect from Europe? It's just completely insane. I mean, it's something I've been thinking about a lot. Is like, the Russian argument for invading Ukraine is like, oh, we're basically brothers. It's like, do brothers invade each other? like their argument is we're so close, which is why we're killing you. It's just really insane.
You got, they love that blood and soil argument, so they need to put more Russian blood in soil.
Yeah, we need to have Russians killing Russians to invest the land. Fuck's sake. Anyway, let's move
None of that
on.
makes sense because they're all nakedly for power and ambition.
Yeah. This is definitely not just because Putin's 70 and is a small dick now.
Yes.
NBC News. Open the door or we die. Africans report racism and hostility trying to flee Ukraine. Thousands of African immigrants joining throngs of Ukrainians are trying to flee the country, saying they're facing red tape and discrimination.
This was a real black pill moment for me.
I'm confused.
I'll explain it briefly for the audience, even though I'm sure Aiden already knows.
Yeah, go ahead.
But basically, a lot of people in Ukraine are not actually ethnically Ukrainian. A lot of them are foreign exchange students or people studying or working there from abroad.
People just traveling up north from Africa.
And when there's 2 million refugees for a country, many of them will not look like they're white Ukrainians. So when you're a black student trying to leave Ukraine because you're a refugee and you're getting stopped at the border because it's like, well, you're not Ukrainian. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're Ukrainian. You're trying to flee a war. But a bunch of black students are getting like pulled off of trains like it's the fucking Holocaust. And they're just like, no, you can't escape this war zone because you don't look Ukrainian.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it came on the tail of like me feeling really good about like the showings of solidarity from countries in Europe, and like reading about Poland taking thousands of refugees and offering them all free healthcare. And then the next article I read like 2 days later is,
Hey, they're not offering them free healthcare. That's their right. It's not a fucking discount.
they're offering to freely incorporate them despite not being naturalized to the Polish healthcare system.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then like 2 days later, I read these about Polish border authorities like denying black teenagers, black pregnant women from entering the train before any white people do. So that's
Which
cool.
again, I mean, it's Poland, so it's not really that surprising.
That's exactly. I had that thought. I'm like, the first article, I'm like, oh, something to finally feel good about Poland, and then.
And as everyone knows, Ukraine is made up 100% of white moms pregnant.
Yeah.
The fuck?
Yeah.
There's a tweet I like for this kind of occasion. But basically, yeah, like it turns out that far-right governments in Europe that were extremely racist are still far-right governments in Europe that are extremely racist. Just because they say they're pro-Ukrainian doesn't even mean they're helping them, let alone non-white people who happen to be caught up in the crossfire.
Yeah, it turns out fascists don't all have solidarity. They also like going to war with other fascists. Poland, who are like right-wing psycho Christians, Catholics, would also like to engage in violence, like against Russian psychos. Like,
yeah,
fascism is not on one side.
Yeah.
Fascists fight all the time because that's their thing. They're warmongers. American fascists would like to fight war because they're psychos. People don't seem to get this.
Yeah.
There aren't two sides to conflict. There's every country side to conflict.
And also the foundational problem with ethno-nationalism is that it promotes right-wing ideology in each country against the other right-wing ideology of each other country instead of any kind of unifying principle.
Right. It leads to conflict between every country, not peace.
We are at the same time saying, white people or Europeans or Caucasians or whatever have to somehow band together to help Ukraine, but also each of us has our own separate country that's extremely important. We're the most important ethnicity on earth, and we're the true people. Like, we're holding completely contradictory positions here.
Right. That's why it's not a cohesive worldview.
They only make sense in this moment because we're like too confused and distraught and caught up in the horror of war to really think through the contradiction there. But the reality is almost none of these countries like each other on any foundational level because they all see each other as geopolitical rivals, as ethnic rivals, as religiously distinct. Like
It's
most Ukrainians,
rivals.
about half of Ukrainians are like atheists and the other half are Orthodox. Well, Polish are almost all Catholic. So there's already a huge conflict there.
They generally start doing religious tests to let people in.
That's not even a joke. Like, there's a reason why these countries all kind of split apart and fell in the way they did, and it has to do with not just race, but also linguistics, ethnicity, religion, all these things. Culture is a huge component of forming national identity. And there's a lot of violent history between Poland and the Ukraine, just like there's violent history between Russia and the Ukraine. So it's not surprising to me at all that they're being selective in how they treat this border interaction now, no matter how dire the situation is.
No, there's blanket good guys, there's blanket bad guys. It's all very simple.
Yeah.
It's a big game of chess.
Yeah. It's really disgusting.
It's no surprise when this is how politicians and how the media institutions of at least the West frame things, that they need to be so reductive and so childishly, condescendingly placating as to always frame it as a good guy versus bad guy without any nuance. That we have, polls coming out where 70+% of Americans think that we should institute a no-fly zone because they don't know what that means. All
Right, they
know
think of like the hip hop song.
It's a great propaganda term because it totally neuters it of the violence and the escalation that represents.
I say, America, we put a no flex zone over us. No more flex. I'm tired of these kids flexing.
I mean,
Trying to do with Joe Biden.
I think I may have mentioned this before in a way earlier episode, but I remember reading polls about public opinion on a number of positions and potential actions in Afghanistan. And I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was like 35 to 50% of Americans thought that if it could be guaranteed that we would mostly kill terrorists, we should drop a nuke in the Middle East.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And that's like,
Or just be Ed Calder. Just say, no, liquidate the place, glass it till it's just lizards left.
from orbit. Yeah, they're like, putting aside how horribly fascistic, how horribly terroristic that is, just shows a complete lack of humanity. It also just shows a complete lack of intelligence and political education, understanding of geopolitics and the consequences of extreme actions like that. And this is why, because one, interests want the public to be uninformed so that they can more easily guide them in ways that profit politicians and the corporations that profit off of wars. I mean, there's been a glut of articles saying how excited investors are for an extended conflict because it gives them more opportunity to sell weapons that we are sending and funneling into Ukraine. But also, it's why you can't really, to a certain extent, when it comes to wars, polling is so useless. Like Biden, it's really worrying to me that Biden is being attacked not just from Republicans who are saying that he's being too weak and not supporting Ukraine enough by fighting the big bad Russia, but now we're getting all these polls that saying public support is against him on this too, because the public doesn't fucking know what anything means.
Oh, I know, because all the polls are push polls and rigged.
Yeah.
So it's not really that surprising. Like every one of those pollsters knew what they were trying to do before they pushed those polls. Like they don't do like in a vacuum, in a Rawlsian veil of ignorance. We're one in one country to attack one another. That's not how that's done.
So the question is,
every single one of them, every one of these things would be like thrown out of court for being biased by information.
Should America let innocent people die?
Right. It's not framed in a way that's like, given that the options are letting a horrible humanitarian disaster happen on one hand and still having it happen but possibly triggering a nuclear war on the other hand, would you prefer the nuclear war to also happen? I mean, because that's what we're talking about here. And they're not being presented in that way because no one knows what the fuck that involves. So when you say no-fly zone, it sounds like you're just saying, like, do you want to end the war? Do you want America to push the button that ends the war with no consequences? Okay, cool, but that's not what it is, and that's obviously not what it is. So if you explain what it is and what it would mean, I don't think almost anyone would be for it because it makes no sense. Which is why the U.S. fucking military hasn't done it, because even they know it makes no sense. Anyway.
And as Jason said, they want a world to keep shooting their guns in.
Let's talk about something that does make sense.
I'm suspicious.
Russian cats are the latest to be banned from international competitions after the Ukraine invasion.
Taking mental damage.
From USA Today. Not just cats with Russian owners, cats descended from Russian breeds. There's now an ethnic litmus test if you are a Russian descended cat.
I refuse to believe this.
Read the article. I read the article because I couldn't believe it either. Literally, it's
Cats
like
are
Russian
not moral actors.
They're talking about like Russian short hairs being banned at cat events, and I'm like, the cats don't have politics.
Well, are they saying that the owners? But like, it's just like that ad where it's like everyone looks like their pet. Like, are they saying that the Russian
cats all look like the cats all look like Putin?
The Russian cats are like owned by Russian owners, and
that's
they don't
what I'm
want
saying.
them to profit? Or
they didn't just ban Russians, which is already insane to just ban Russians randomly from cat competitions as if they like Putin. That's already insane. They're banning cats of Russian descent.
It's just like the other article we read. Birds aren't real; they're made by the government. Are all
Yeah, I mean, the stakes here are insanely low, but it is very stupid.
Yeah, there's been so much of this. What essentially boils down to virtue signaling from companies and
but it's not it's sin signaling.
Yeah, they're a better way to put it.
It is incredibly stupid to do this kind of like Red Scare, Russophobia shit, especially with like non-sentient beings that can't speak language.
I want them
politics.
I want them to like hold a microphone up to the cab, like, have you ever worked for the Communist Party? Ever been associated with? That's
Yeah.
The cat comes in with a big Z on it, like the cat's putting like Putin propaganda out there. Like, what do they fucking think's gonna happen? Holy shit! This one it's like the embodiment of how low can you go? How nonsensically removed from this actual conflict can you say it's still?
It's like a sketch. It sounds like a comedy sketch making fun.
Yeah,
of
this is a Sunny bit. The gang fights the war in Ukraine by banning homeless Russian cats from their bar.
Yeah. Just
that's a wild. You're wilding for that one, USA Today.
And of course, because insane responses to this are not restricted to the virtue signaling liberals. From MSNBC News, convoy picks up cars and anti-Ukraine talking points ahead of Washington arrival. The American offshoot of the Freedom Convoy is staging in Hagerstown, Maryland on Friday, ramping up for its final protest. So basically, now that Trump has created a fissure in the Republican Party, and this is what we were going to talk about from before, Jay, now that he's created a fissure about whether or not the Republicans are supposed to be pro-Russia or pro-Ukraine on this, the elites have gone mostly pro-Russia, but the public has gone largely pro-Ukraine.
The chuds are
pro-Russia. Russia, while the elites have gone pro-Ukraine, because the elites are all more hooked into like the American blob intelligence apparatus stuff, whereas the country's just kind of like, I'm a chud, and Trump said he liked Russia, and that's it. And the Democrats said they didn't like Russia.
What's the Freedom Convoy? Is that like his?
You remember the stupid trunk? You remember the stupid truckers in Ottawa? It's that, but America style.
So what do they do?
I don't know what they're going to do, because the one in Canada was complaining about having to be masked and vaccinated,
and we're all
American truckers aren't.
Yeah.
So like, what are they even complaining? I don't know. I guess they're complaining that Russia is getting slandered. I don't know.
So go truck in Russia. I'm sure that's a fun job. Like ice trucking in Russia. That sounds sick.
They can see Russia. They can see Russia from their truck.
It's like a simulation game I should be playing.
Yeah,
ice road truckers.
Russian ice road truckering.
They're freaks heading over to Ukraine to try to kill Russian child soldiers or whatever. Why don't you go fight for Russia?
There actually are some people going to fight for Russia. This is one of the wildest ones.
Well, there's what's gotten more public attention is all the people going over to fight for Ukraine.
Yeah,
like there's so many boxers come out of that part of the world, and there's like 50 like high level boxers who are all now like punching Russia in Ukraine. It's funny.
There was an article that covered something so stupid I didn't want to go into detail, but basically they found some like 70-year-old Trotskyist who's having like Alzheimer's and became a born-again Christian and now thinks Russia's fighting Nazis in Ukraine, to show that like it's the left supporting Russia. And because he got over to fight for them. Yeah, we found this crank who thinks it's the Soviet Union still. So the left loves Putin.
You're trying those dementia-ridden women out of hospice.
Yeah, the left hates Putin. How could that not be any clearer?
Including in Russia. The Russian left is in jail because of Putin.
And the left and the rest of the world views Putin as like the suicide bombing pilot for the plane that could have been going in the right direction.
I look at Putin the same way I looked at Saddam Hussein, which is a piece of shit dictator that the U.S. installed for its own interests and then regretted. Oops. Doesn't make him left-wing. The fact that he grew up under the Soviet Union doesn't make him left-wing any more than the fact that fucking someone grew up under Nazi Germany makes them right-wing.
It's like calling Ayn Rand left-wing. No, she was explicitly the opposite. Yeah. Just because you grow up under a thing, usually that means you don't like the thing. Not you.
Look, she's left-wing when she's writing for the New York Times. The rest of the time, she's not.
Right. So what is this Freedom Convoy protest? What are they even protesting?
I have no idea. I'm sure it's just some Trump gibberish. It's
what the fuck's an anti-Ukrainian talking point?
They're making our kids wear masks.
They deserved it. They had it coming, folks. They had a revolution 2014. Didn't go to the bad hombres. Like, what are they talking about?
This war,
Trump, he's very smart. He invaded at the right time when I wasn't president.
this war is actually all staged Call of Duty footage to distract you
Yeah.
from the masks they're trying to force on your children.
Yeah, Activision has taken their evil to the next level.
The entire country of Ukraine is crisis actors.
We've started a coup. We've started a war so we can document it and see and do the stop motion for our next Call of Duty game. It's gonna be amazing. We got Kevin Spacey back.
Yeah. You remember when Trump was like trying to force Ukraine to do political bullshit for him before he gave them aid? Oops.
They had to do like a PR thing. Yeah.
Yeah, they had to like help him be corrupt before he would let them get military assistance.
Is the appeal? This wouldn't have happened under Trump. This is why we have to elect him in 2024. When Trump comes in, he'll end the war with Ukraine with peace with Russia.
I guarantee you that is his appeal. It'll be like Reagan in the Iran-Contra thing, where he's like, even though I helped make sure this problem stayed going as long as possible behind the scenes, I can end it. Meanwhile, the Ukrainians fucking despise Trump because he actively sabotaged their military defense efforts for his own political reasons. So they fucking hate him. So he can't really just be like, I'm running on a pro-Ukrainian thing. So he's probably going to run on like I can change Russia. I can change him.
Yeah, and Ukraine's petty. They're like Rosie O'Donnell. They're salty bitches.
No one understands Putin like I do. I can end this with a phone call, like that kind of thing. It's like, well, maybe you should do that right now then. No.
Yeah, because
wait till he's president.
He's
holding it hostage. It's just like it's like the vaccine being held hostage.
If you don't elect me, there won't be a vaccine. Yeah, exactly. He always has a solution that's mysteriously just behind a paywall of him getting something.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sign up for my Patreon.
That's his business MO.
I can solve this Russia thing if you subscribe to Trump Stack. Okay, cool. But yeah, very, very stupid.
Trump stacks in our days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his solution would be like disarm Ukraine, hand it to Russia.
Yeah, we can end this conflict right now. Let Russia win. Exactly.
Stop resisting.
Just give them Ukraine, and then we can extradite, Zelensky or whoever else, and make sure they don't get killed, and then everyone's won somehow. Yeah, that actually probably is going to be.
I mean, hey, it's a solution, I guess. So
it's a dumb fucking solution, but I don't know what he would come up with that's better than that.
No, I can't imagine anything.
When I'm president, the Russian short-haired cats, they'll be back. They'll be back in the competition, folks. You love to see them. Look at these beautiful cats.
They're the best cats.
But the Democrats to see these cats, it's unacceptable. And that's what he'll run on, because he'll find the one dumb thing that they're doing unambiguously stupid and be like, this is the only issue.
Me, I like to say pussy. The Democrats don't let you call them pussies anymore.
I'm going to grab these cats and no one can complain about it.
All right, that's enough Trump for me.
Yeah. Thank God he's fucking out of it. All right. Let's wrap, folks. We got one more. I tried to find a fun animal article. I couldn't really, so I just found a weird animal article.
All right, we'll take it.
We got one with the cats.
Yeah, the cat one, but it was also strange. From SciTech Daily.
Oh, boy.
What the fuck is that?
Visit it so often.
Hail to the squid. New species of extinct vampire-like cephalopod with 10 arms named after Biden.
What?
They named an extinct ancient vampire squid after the extinct ancient vampire president.
But it's not even. Oh, it's got 10 arms. I gotta see this thing. It's
a proto squid. Yeah,
this thing is Cthulhu. Wait, this is literally Cthulhu.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
What's it called? It's just called Biden.
Is it called Brandon or something?
Yeah, let's go cephalopod.
I'm just gonna Google Biden squid. I don't know what the FBI is gonna think.
Silimpsipodi bideni.
Bideni. Oh, this thing's old as shit. Oh my god.
Yeah. It's 328 million years ago, which makes it a little older than Biden.
Oh shit. Yeah, Aiden, you played Mass Effect 3?
Yeah.
It's the Leviathan. It's got the long ass head. And it's got 8 limbs, but it's got 2 big long arm limbs out ahead.
It's very similar to modern squid.
What the fuck? This thing's awesome. It's got the mustache, the Cthulhu thing shit.
Yeah.
Man, this is great.
And it has huge anime eyes.
Yeah, I fucking love nature, man. Nature's so much better than humanity. Or we're a part of it, but we're the bad.
We got the eco-fascism Mass Effect forever.
As for why the researchers named the animal
Why?
after Biden, Whalen said that the publication was accepted soon after the president's inauguration and the Jan 6 insurrection. I wanted to somehow acknowledge the moment in a way that was more positive and forward-looking, he said.
By having this nightmare squid?
So
represent-
congratulations, Biden. You got the nightmare vampire squid.
And some loser got into office and we had a fascist.
Your
failed
legacy
coup?
is intact.
Oh my
Yeah,
god! This guy,
like-
what scientist wrote this?
Could call it the Antifa squid or something at least.
This is like the comet being named DiBiase. This is great.
Yeah.
This is like naming a highway after yourself. Buying a highway for yourself.
I guess what I'm saying is this is Squid Game. The
And
real
it-
Squid Game.
And it's so funny because it's like the long lasting from the Gilded Age image is that industries have tentacles over all of our
Yeah.
branches of government, and that is just as true as it's ever been.
It's also
Getting art ideas.
it's also kind of funny that these guys are studying underwater animals, and one is called Whalen, the
Yeah.
other is called Landman.
Are these superheroes?
Look, they had to break up the two realms they
Yeah,
studied.
or yin and yang.
You know, it's not like everyone has silly crank names in academics, but if you do, it's a lot easier to get published.
Exactly. It's a boon. Born into success.
Born into mafia.
Yeah,
All right.
that's a cute
well,
little fellow.
You know, we managed
was
to make
cuter.
this one cute somehow.
Biden on a
Even though
motorcycle.
it's a vampire, it's an extinct vampire squid.
I think we should use this Biden on a motorcycle and just replace his head with the squid.
Or just replace the motorcycle with the squid.
Oh, he's riding the squid? There you go. Oh, hey, got an even better one.
I'm sure this thing was huge.
What event is this from where they're riding sick motorcycles?
Man, my VP could ride a motorcycle.
It's why I love and respect her.
Yeah. I read one article that said they were going to send her to Russia, and I was like, you think that's a good idea?
And then she can get rejected at the Polish border.
I was going to say, like, you really think they're going to, like, be respectful of that? I don't know.
But I'm sure it will be funny for us.
It would be very funny if Kamala Harris gets abducted by Putin
In a video
in
game, of
Minecraft.
course.
Yeah. All right, folks. That's all I got.
That's
Yeah,
our
get one of these-
smooth.
It's been a rollicking, you know.
I gotta get one of these
Whatever.
Joe Vibin t-shirts.
Yeah.
These are good shit.
Next time we'll probably have something longer and denser. But you got off with an easy and angry one this time.
Oh no, I found the worst image of all time.
Well, that's my cue to get Greg out of here.
Catch you next time.
Bye.
See ya.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show. If you enjoy what we do here at the Non-Essential Workers Podcast and you want to support us, please check us out at patreon.com/non-essential workers podcast or by clicking the link below.
For $5, you get access to the Patreon feed and twice as many total episodes.
How many more?
I'll say it one more time for the back. Twice. Anyways, thanks and see you next time.